So yeah, here we go. Season 2, Carpool Aftermarket. Myself, Mark Field, RWF Chief Executive, and Kayleigh Bradley, Senior Recruitment Consultant from Glen Callum Associates. Are you looking forward to this?
I am, yes.
It's a lovely sunny day in the West Midlands, and let's go straight into it. Tell us about your job, tell us what you do and your role within the automotive industry.
Okay, so I am Senior Recruiter for Glen Callum Associates, as Mark said. We are specialist aftermarket recruiters. I've been with the business for just over 15 years, and I recruit across the whole aftermarket supply chain, from parts manufacturer to supplier to distributor. Lots of different roles within those businesses, from sales and marketing to operations to technical. So we get involved in a bit of everything. We get to see the whole aftermarket, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I was going to say to you that your job must be tough, but then again, I think obviously with the national insurance rise coming up, but your job must be tough all the time.
Yes.
Because you're having to find the right fit for the business.
Yes. Recruitment is always swinging from a candidate-driven market to a client-driven market, and neither of them are easy. We never get that perfect equilibrium in the middle.
I always remember us talking about the fact that when we came out of COVID, we'd expected it to be an employer-driven market, but candidates became more picky. Probably not the word to say, but it's the they were more succinct or focused on what type of role they wanted to do and the work they wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think as we came out of COVID, I don't think anybody was expecting there to be such a high level of roles available, and there was. And obviously the world had changed. We'd done a lot of remote working, etc., and I think our views on work-life balance had changed, and so it kind of tipped the balance to very much a candidate-driven market. I think we're still in that candidate-driven market, but I think we may be coming more towards an employer market,
right?
Which has its own challenges as well. There's still quite a high number of vacancies within our industry. When we look to other industries and we see on the news, that numbers of vacancies are dropping dramatically. There's lots of redundancies. I don't think we've been victim of that. I think we're, it's still a very buoyant industry, which is great. But it will shift. It will shift towards an employer market. That's always going to be the case, and it will shift back again.
Because you're navigating all those different things, such as working from home, and all those different benefits and emerging job roles that we have now in the aftermarket. And we talk about skills, and dare I say that skills gap. I don't call it a skills gap, I call it a skills challenge. What's your view on that?
I think yes, there is a skills challenge. That's not going to be fixed soon, and I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge for us. I think what we need to do better as an industry, and where we need to focus to combat that skills challenge, is how we sell ourselves as a potential industry to be employed in for people outside of the industry, because I don't think that's what we're great at doing. I think when you speak to somebody from outside of the industry, you talk about the aftermarket, they think about technicians, and that's a really crucial role within our industry, but there are other roles available. There's product marketing, there's marketing, there's data. I'm doing a lot of roles in software now, software developers, customer success, product owners. Then there's the sales side of things. So I think we need to be better at selling what our industry can offer and how exciting and affluent it is.
And you're a great example of that, not just yourself, but also with the business, because you're an aftermarket person probably that's doing recruitment rather than a recruitment person in the aftermarket. So it works both ways. So in terms of these trends, because obviously people look at the market, and employment is a key factor. It's a key sort of indicator as to where we are in the industry. You're saying it's pretty buoyant at the moment. Lots of change, lots of positive change. Lots
of positive change. Pretty buoyant. I think it's a pretty exciting time to be in the aftermarket. Lots of new emerging roles. We're going to evolve. The traditional roles will always be there, but there will be new roles, AI, data is a massive thing for us. Technology is going to be a massive thing for us as we move to EV. What will that do for job roles in the industry? And then when we look to the next technology, what will that do? So we are an ever-evolving industry, and that's not what we're so great at getting across.
No, that's a really good point, because like I always say, there are so many careers you can enjoy in the industry, and there are so many people that you have probably placed who have started off somewhere in the industry and then moved forward, and they are now bosses, chief executives and managing directors. We all start somewhere. Yeah,
there's so many success stories when you speak to people. You know, I lose track of the amount of times I speak to people and they say, I started as, you know, a Saturday person in a motor factor stacking shelves, and now I'm sales director for, you know, a components manufacturer, and I've done so many jobs in between. That's what we need to be telling people. We need to say you can start here, but it's infinite to where you can go, and the different routes that you can go down. There's so many options available to you.
And it can be quite a daunting prospect for businesses. So that's why they obviously come to yourselves to help with their recruitment. Just explain to me the process that you get involved in, because it's not just a case of, you know, placing somebody and you manage the whole relationship, don't you? And you maintain those relationships.
Yeah, so I think where we've had a lot of success with Glen Callum is our retention of our client base.
Yeah.
But what that allows us to do is, when you retain a client, every time you work with them, you get to know them a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So I like to think of us as an extension of the client's business. I think in recruitment, it's a sales job, ultimately. You know, I'm selling to the candidate, I'm selling to the client. I like to be able to tell the story of a company to the candidate and get them on board, get their buy-in from day one. We can only do that when we've built those relationships so far with clients. So our involvement is, you know, right the way from writing the job description and the job advert to making the job offer, and even the not so nice side of it, of the rejection handling, and that is the worst part of this job, if we're, you know, if we're being totally honest. But we get involved at every stage, and we're not a CV provider, we're a consultant. So we will make recommendations, we will guide clients, we will work with them, rather than just saying, here's 5 CVs, who do you want to work with? And you've been in recruitment for how many years? 15 years. 15 years. What's the worst thing you've ever heard in an interview? That's a really good I know that everyone will be waiting me to ask her, what's the worst thing you've seen or heard in an interview? Perhaps don't answer that one, because that person might be listening and they go, and that was me. Might give someone a complex. But you must have seen so much happen and change in our industry, I guess, in that respect, but also within people. You know, you're a people business, and you always have been. And we are, and you know, I think there's a lot said in recruitment at the moment about AI. AI is going to enhance our industry, but it's never going to replace a recruiter, because it's never going to have that feel like a person does. And we are a people industry, and recruitment is an interesting industry to be in, because I guess much like marketing, it's ever evolving, it's ever changing. There's lots of trends. We have to be ahead of those trends, and the way that people recruit is ever evolving. We had a conversation in the office the other day about, you know, is the CV dead? It's been around for hundreds of years. Right. I think we're filming again. Thankfully you don't work too far away, so that's good. So 15 years in the automotive recruitment industry, you would have seen a lot of changes from businesses and also from clients as well, from candidates. Yes. Yeah, so recruitment is a really trend-based industry, which I'm pretty sad. I find that quite interesting. That's great. Keeping track of all the trends. So yeah, you do see a lot of changes. You know, there's a lot of changes to the way that people recruit. There's a lot of changes to the way that candidates want to search for jobs, want to access jobs. You know, we've got this one-click apply now, which is really great, because it means that candidates can upload their CV really quickly, and that's what they want to do in the modern world. We've changed job adverts to make sure that they're mobile friendly, which is, you know, something that we've obviously had to work very closely with. I think our, you know, I think it's a stat that over almost 90% of job applications now come from a mobile, which is just crazy. So yeah, we've seen lots of changes. We were having a discussion in the office the other day about, is the CV dead? It's obviously been around for hundreds of years. Is it the most effective way to get your information across to a potential employer? I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but I think
No.
it will be supplemented with other technologies.
And the fact that you can look at someone's social profile
Yes.
pretty quickly as
Yes,
well. So
yeah, definitely. So I think we'll see changes in that area, but it's going to be ever evolving.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, in 10 years' time, you and I could have this same conversation, and recruitment could be something totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's quite interesting.
No, it's good, and I think the aftermarket, you know, Glen Callum Associates brings a lot of new ideas, perspectives, and these different things to the aftermarket. So is there anything you're involved in currently that's exciting that you can share with us?
Yeah, so we've got a new initiative that we've actually started at a couple of weeks ago, but he's going to build momentum over the next few weeks. I'm not going to steal too much of Glen's thunder because it is his baby, but we're doing an hour aftermarket initiative, which is really aimed at, as we were saying before, you know, marketing our aftermarket to potential employees, and looking at roles other than technicians and at garage level, which we appreciate. There's a skills challenge there as well, but you know, that's not our area of expertise. Our area of expertise is the more general aftermarket. So looking at, you know, how do we promote these roles? Glen's going to run a series of videos and blogs and articles. So yeah, we're really trying to get behind supporting the industry and marketing themselves to people outside of the industry, which I think is probably where we're going to find a lot of untapped talent.
Right, okay, brilliant. Sounds good. It sounds like you're really passionate about that approach, which kind of leads me on to the question, which is the person who last did Carpool Aftermarket, which was me, has left you a question. So my question to you is, what would you say, or what piece of advice would you give your 16-year-old self? So Kayleigh, at 16 years of age,
yeah, okay. That's an interesting question.
What advice would you give to yourself?
So there's lots, but I would say probably the main piece of advice is you will make mistakes.
Yep.
It's all part of the journey. In fact, you learn more from a mistake than a success. So just keep going. Do what you enjoy most.
Yep.
And the aftermarket is a great place to work.
That is so much better than my answer, which was buy Apple shares.
That's a good one as well.
That's a good one. So now you're going to leave a question now to the next person.
Yep, okay. So I'm going to ask a question.
And I'm going to answer it.
Okay. I'll ask a question related on our topic of conversation today. So how would you sell a career in the aftermarket to somebody who knew little or nothing about it? Okay.
I'm going to answer that question now. I think for us, for me, it's about the people, which that's a difficult thing to sell actually, because there are people everywhere, let's be honest. You know, a lot of us. But I think it's about, I came into the industry as a journalist, and it was the people that kept me in the industry. It was listening to the stories. Yes, everyone's got stories to tell, but it was the personalities in the trade.
Yeah.
And I just felt so enriched by listening to people's stories, and I still do today. You know, and there are motor factor owners that I visit, garage owners and suppliers, and just the stories that they have about how they came to be and the work that they're doing. That's, for me, it's great, because it gives you a lot of work. It gives you a lot of, you know, everyone's had tough times. Everyone's got a story to tell.
Yes.
And there is a lot of good. And whilst we are a very competitive industry, and, you know, there's consolidation and all of that wonderful stuff, at the end of the day, we're just people. And I think it's really important that we're always sort of looking out for that. So I think the stories and the times that I've had with aftermarket people are probably the best times. They've just been such good memories that we've created, and hopefully we create that at IWF as well with our dinners and our events, and also the work that we're doing. So yeah. Final question. Okay. I was going to ask, so it is Carpool Aftermarket. I'm not going to ask you to sing.
Good.
What are you listening to when you're coming into work in the car?
What am I listening to?
Are you radio? Are you podcast? Are you music? Are you Spotify?
I'm more radio
on
my journey into work, and I do love a bit of Radio 1. I listen to I don't know if you listened to it last week, Jamie Lang.
I'm a little bit older on the radio, so I'm on Radio 2. Vernon K is where we are. So.
Okay, I wondered if you'd listened to the running challenge last week.
I heard about it, but no, I didn't see it. For Red Nose Day.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't see it, so
Yeah, no, that kept me very much engaged last week.
I'm Radio 2 and then soon be migrating to Radio 4 soon for,
Okay.
you know, all that stuff. But,
well, the kids keep telling me I need to move on to Radio 2 now.
come join us, it's much more fun. And you, so you're a singer then in the car like myself?
Yeah, only on my own, because I don't want to make people's ears bleed.
But but you are, when you're on your own, the best singer you've ever heard.
Of course.
So, yeah. So thank you, Kayleigh. Thank you for your time on Carpool Aftermarket and some great value content, some great information on trends. I will press you again about what's the most strangest thing you've ever heard a candidate say in the interview, but that will be off camera.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks
for
all.
having me.
Cheers.